Hello everyone, the Army of Otters here, and welcome back to Unexplored Skyrim. And in this episode, we are going to be checking out Dragon Bridge, which is a small town located in the northwestern part of Skyrim. It crosses the Karth River, and you will likely go to this town on your way to Solitude, unless of course you use the horse carriage system in order to just completely bypass everything on the path. Now, unlike some other small towns or villages such as Rorikstead or Riverwood, Dragon Bridge really did not have a lot on the internet about it. In fact, it has not been covered all that much on YouTube, so while doing my research and stuff to try and find out interesting things to talk about, well, I kind of came up empty-handed. And there are a few miscellaneous quests and stuff like that, and we're certainly going to talk about it, but I think I've compiled everything of interest I can about Dragon Bridge. Now, additionally, we're also going to be doing a bounty, a random bounty, which takes us to Broken Oar Grotto, which is a really cool location that I'm excited to share as well. So without further ado, let's jump into Dragon Bridge and Broken Oar Grotto. Now here is the world map where Dragon Bridge is located, just in case you don't know, but like at the beginning of the video I kind of described its location already. Now in the previous video we talked about Bleak Coast Cave, and the reason I went there is I wanted to find a map. Across from Bleak Coast Cave we can find an unmarked location called Horgeir Hunter's Last Stand. And as you could see, Bleak Coast Cave is just southeast of Winterhold. And here we can find the dead hunters, that's why it's called Last Stand, and we can find treasure map number 8. You need to find this treasure map in order to find the hidden treasure chest at Dragon Bridge. Now there are two steps to this. First, we need to locate a key that is just to the west of the bridge. Just kind of go through this grass, come out the other side where there is no grass, and you're going to see this satchel and like lantern leaning against the tree. And if you open the satchel, you will then find the Dragon Bridge chest key. Just dive into the river, and right below the bridge on the east side of it, we can find the chest kind of hidden within this, like, I don't know, not seaweed, riverweed? Don't know actually what it's called, but yeah, like seaweed. Anyways, after that, there is a small other location near Dragon Bridge that is relevant because it is called Dragon Bridge Overlook. Now, it's a little bit difficult actually to get to from Dragon Bridge itself. Normally, you're supposed to go all the way around this like mountain, but with enough determination, anything is possible. And we just slowly climbed our way up the mountain. Now, at Dragon Bridge Overlook, there are no friendlies. We will instead find two Forsworn. Don't know why these Forsworn are here, but interestingly enough, inside one of the tents, we can find a map of Skyrim with a knife through the location where Dragon Bridge is located. So perhaps the Forsworn are plotting or planning some kind of attack or takeover of Dragon Bridge. Eric the Slayer gives us some exposition about the Forsworn, but besides that, there's actually nothing up here of interest besides, you know, whatever loot you might find, but there's nothing like special. Over here we can find a wooden platform with some arrows on the overlook looking over Dragon Bridge. Now it is worth mentioning, Dragon Bridge is quite strategic and valuable, and it kind of surprises me there isn't more going on here as far as like the Empire and the Civil War. As we come across the bridge, we will find Horgeir, who is a good friend of ours now, and we'll talk a lot more about him later. But he talks about the importance of Dragon Bridge and that this bridge is really old, and that he hopes nothing happens to it because it is one of the only river crossings across the Karth River, well, at least for a long way in either direction. And he also complains about his wife, and he says, well, she's a bad woman who has ice where her heart should be. So we can sense some tension between these two, and they do have quite a juicy story going on. So if we go talk to Olda, who's like a magician with this broomstick here anyways, if you talk to Olda, at first she will be kind of negative if you ask her about the presence of the guards. She's like, yeah, of course I don't like armed strangers in this place, but I mean, they're guards, they're just doing their job. Anyways, she seems kind of annoyed by our presence, so we will bug her off for a little bit. However, if we come back later and talk to Olda, then we can ask her about her husband. Your husband drinking too much? And she will respond that yes, he is basically an alcoholic, and he's such an alcoholic that he has stashed all of his alcohol in a nearby cave, and somehow he has trained a pack of wolves to, well, guard the cave. That is an insane feat, and I kind of admire it, honestly. But anyway, she asks us to steal a special ale from her husband's secret stash in the cave called Dragon's Breath Mead, which is just an awesome name for a mead. Anyways, this will now appear as a miscellaneous task, so we will make our way to that cave. Luckily for us, this cave is pretty nearby. We'll want to stay on this side of the river and just make our way there. Now, near this waterfall, I found a fishing map for Haafingar, which I thought was just pretty cool. Just thought I'd let you know it's there. Anyways, we'll make our way up along the river, just moving west. I found a pack of wolves. I thought this was the original pack of wolves. We found then a cave bear standing next to these, like, I don't know what they're called, Stonehenge-like things, but this is just an unmarked kind of old Nordic ruin. There's nothing special here besides some ingredients for alchemy, so, you know, if you want to come out here for that, that's fine. But we'll keep moving our way up west, and then eventually we will find the cave, and there's more wolves in front of the cave, and then we can find the Dragon's Breath Mead. Man, Horgeir is quite committed to drinking alcohol, and this cave is the literal man cave. The guy trained 2 packs of wolves and a cave bear to defend it. That is insane. Anyways, Olda will reward us with 500 to 700 gold. She gave me 600, which is a pretty hefty reward for such a simple task. However, Horgeir will also reward us if we give him the mead instead, and his reward cracked me up a bit.
Shore's crown, that woman never gives up. I guess that's why I married her. You're a real friend saving this mead from her. Here, let me show you how to block a punch that might be coming from some angry spouse, huh?
Worthless. Everyone like you is completely worthless.
So Horgeir teaches us how to defend ourselves from an angry spouse, and, well, Olda is now really pissed off at us. Now, this is not the end of these 2 stories. At the end of the video, I will also go into another interesting thing that I think is not as well known. Now, it is worth mentioning here at Dragon's Bridge, we can find the only location in Skyrim of the, I hope I say this right, Penitus Oculatus outpost in all of Skyrim, home to the elite guards of Emperor Titus Mead II. Now, over here chopping wood, we can find Azzara Lylvieve, maybe? Anyways, he will be chopping wood, and he is the only man here that has a family. He is married to Michelle, and he's the father of Julian and Clinton. And we can find both of his children in town. Now, Julian is a little bit older, and he will tell us that she was unfortunately sexually assaulted by some of these soldiers coming through, which is, well, quite sad. Or at the very least, it was attempted. Either way, that's messed up. And she will often be found in Four Shields Tavern because, well, that's where she works. She is an innkeeper in training. And then his son, Clinton, is actually pretty cute, for he has a pet goat named Lucky, and Lucky will just kind of walk around Dragon Bridge following Clinton, and then Lucky will sleep in their house even, which I just thought was really adorable. Goats, I think, are just such an underrated animal, and this goat is really cute. Anyways, after that, we will go to the Four Shields Tavern, the main tavern in town, place where you can get a glass of mead, and you can find a bed for the night. Now, I came here to ask Faida for some kind of job, so I asked her, do you have any leads? And this is what led me to Broken Oar Grotto, which was a really good lead because Broken Oar Grotto is a place I don't know about, and it was freaking awesome. Now, this quest called Simply Kill the Bandit Leader, like a Radiant quest, is actually pretty cool because the bandits here are specially named. They're called the Black Blood Marauders, and as you just saw, this place is located just northwest of Solitude. It is so far north, and the interior is actually pretty freaking huge. Now, outside, you're going to find a lot of boats, and the reason for that is that these marauders are actually kind of like pirates. However, this cave used to just go out into the ocean, but recently there's been a cave-in at the entrance. As you can see, that boat there, and the cave kind of collapsed on top of it. So the pirates have not been able to get a lot of their ships and stuff out of the cave, because, well, it's currently collapsed. Anyways, as we come in, we'll be immediately greeted by a marauder, and we'll just, well, one-shot them. They're actually pretty weak. I mean, I guess they're just bandits. There are a ton of bear pelts in here for whatever reason. I guess these marauders like killing bears. But this place is pretty freaking huge, and because this cave is pretty wide open, using the bow and arrow was really nice for killing, you know, the bandits from far away. Now, inside of this one area, kind of you go back in the cave, there's going to be some oil on the ground, so you light it on fire. There's a chest in here and all kinds of gold and potions. And if you go to the very back, you will find a bucket in the middle of these floorboards, which I guess is functioning as a toilet, but they have like a river. I don't know why they just... Anyways, we can also find this one boat on a dock, and there will be a chest inside of the boat. Always worth looting the chest, never know what you will find. Now, there are several of these drawbridges inside. These bandits have a pretty complex system of like mechanisms for their boats and stuff, which is pretty amazing. Anyways, as we come to the back, we can find the captain's like quarters, or just kind of where the captain lives. It's this large like little house. It looks pretty freaking cool, I think. And there will be a lot of marauders here, but, well, they're pretty easy to take out. Now, the leader himself does have a lot of health, but for me, Miko, and Eric the Slayer, it was really no problem, and bada bing, bada boom, he got bit by a dog. Anyways, on him, we can find a chest key, and if we go to the very top, we can find his journal, some gold, a knife, and some potion. Now, on the very back of his quarters, we can find a chest. So might as well open that chest and see what you can find. Up here, we also have his bed and some books and some food and alcohol, but yeah, really nothing of interest up here. However, on the table below us, his journal is of particular interest to us, so let's take a look and let's read it. 8th of Evening Star, 4E200. Jari Ra is up to something big. He wouldn't tell me exactly. All he said was, it'll be just like the good old days, before the cave-in sealed your boats in there. We can't send our ships out of here anymore. What is he hinting at? 14th of Evening Star, 4E200. He wants to know what loot we have saved up. I don't care what he says. I'm not telling him anything about my stash. It says down there where it's safe. I can't imagine he'd ever jump into this murky water, let alone swim down to the sunken boat. 21st of Evening Star. It's on. Jari and his sister, Dija, have something cooked up. All they need is a scapegoat. I wonder will they'll find someone dumb enough to do what they say. That's bound to be someone out there who will. Now, some of you might be familiar with Jari Ra. He is the giver of the quest Lights Out, and that person dumb enough to be their scapegoat is, well, the Dragonborn. During the quest, he will betray you, which is pretty freaking cool and pretty freaking awesome. Now, as we go out through the door of the captain's bedroom, we can find a smithing area and a ship up here. Don't know how they built that ship, but it's really freaking cool. We can find a smithing skill book on the thing here, which is obviously always good. Of course, I've already found it, so not so good. But anyways, there's a forge and stuff up here, but besides that book, there's really nothing of interest. But pretty cool that they have a smithing area inside of their little area. Now, also in that journal, we learned that there is an underwater chest. It is a master lock, but if we have the key, we can open it up ourselves. Now, there are 3 more chests hidden under the water at the very entrance where it has caved in. If we just swim up near this rock here, we can find another chest that is next to a skeleton, so we'll go ahead and loot it and take whatever we want. After that, if we swim a little bit further into the cave and go past this first drawbridge, on our left, we will see that boat, which also has a treasure chest inside of it. Now, there is a small staircase leading from the dock. If you just go down the stairs and go straight, you will find the 3rd underwater treasure chest. The last one is actually pretty darn tricky to find, but basically, if you go to where the captain is and jump in the water, if you look over here directly below the captain's bedroom, you can find the chest sandwiched in between all of the scaffolding. It is an expert level lock, so you will need lockpick, obviously, to get it open. But there was some pretty decent loot inside of it for me. But that pretty much covers all of Broken Oar Grotto, which was a pretty awesome place, I thought, and I had a lot of fun checking it out, and I'm glad I came here. Outside, we can see the other side of the cave-in, but it doesn't look nearly as impressive as it does on the inside. Now, up here, there's also a little island across from the cave, but there was nothing on the island besides a bird nest and an egg. But yeah, you can go check it out if you want. It really feels like the end of the world. And then we will make our way back to Dragon Bridge. Now, near Dragon Bridge is a Stormcloak camp, the Haafingar Stormcloak camp. It is really close to Dragon Bridge and really close to Solitude. It seems like a major failure by the Imperials to allow this place to be here. Found some horses that were just kind of like touching each other on the face. Don't know why. But yeah, there's really nothing of interest here. Now, the one thing I wanted to mention is in the tent on the end here, there is a treasure chest. And for whatever reason, this chest was not considered stealing, even though I'm not friendly with the Stormcloaks. I don't know if it's always like that in other camps, or if it's just an oversight on the part of Bethesda, but yeah, I just thought I would mention it. Now, there is one more character tied to our good friend Horgeir, and that is his brother, Lodvar. And Lodvar is a very interesting character because he resides in Dragonbridge and lives in the same house as his brother. And while you might be saying, well, that's not that weird, brothers live together all the time. Well, if we decide to kill Lodvar, like I'm about to do, and then obviously we run away and escape, and wait for a few days, then Olda will send a gang of mercenaries after us to avenge the death of Lodvar. But, yeah, just please ignore the fact that the hired thugs glitched the fuck out and actually didn't attack me or do anything to me. I've never seen this glitch before. I was just kind of waiting here in Rorikstead. They showed up, and they just kind of follow me around and don't do anything. They're just like my good old friends anymore. Anyways, I think it is quite curious that Lodvar is avenged by Olda, his sister-in-law. Remember, Olda hates her husband, Horgeir. But if you do kill Lodvar, then you will eventually get a note from Horgeir that thanks the Dragonborn for killing his brother. And all of this kind of put together, we learn that Olda and Lodvar are lovers, and that Olda was cheating with Horgeir's older brother. Kind of an interesting, like, little triangle dynamic going on here, and not something that is very easy to figure out. And I do have to wonder if there was going to be more behind this story, but it was just cut from the final game. Alright everyone, I hope you enjoyed this episode of Unexplored Skyrim. Taking a look at Dragonbridge was a lot of fun because I had to do a lot of the research myself in-game because there isn't just a lot of cohesive information on the internet about it. It's more scattered and a little bit more difficult to find, so it was kind of a good journey for me. I hope you guys enjoyed Dragonbridge. What do you guys think of Dragonbridge and Horgeir and his wife Olda and his older brother Lodvar? It's a very interesting situation. Also, I hope you guys enjoyed Broken Oar Grotto. Do you guys ever go there? What do you think about it? So far, it's been one of my favorite locations that I've discovered in this game. Alright guys, if you have any recommendations or ideas for future videos, future locations, please post them in the comments section below. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time.